to Finance Conversations. This is the 54th episode of the Merging Life and Money Show, and I am super excited to be here with you today. For those of you who do not know me, I am your host, Marie-Jo César. I help professional women bridge the gap between life and money by acquiring and applying the relevant financial skills and knowledge they need to take control of their money, manage their finances, and understand that they can live their best life with the money they have. Thank you for joining in today. If you are watching the replay, make sure to type #replay in the chat and leave me some comments and questions. Welcome, welcome, and welcome. I come to you live every Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to share valuable information about how to acquire, or I should say, how to achieve financial wellness and live your life with means and meaning. Today's show is about the theme that the International Women's Day have chosen for this year. So every year in the US, March is designated Women's History Month by presidential proclamation. The month is set aside to honor women's contribution in America. Also, this past Tuesday was International Women's Day. It is observed annually on March 8th, okay? And the global holiday aims is to commemorate the cultural, political, and socio-economic achievements of women. So the earliest known Women's Day celebration was in 1909 in New York City, and the idea was later adopted by the United Nations in 1975. So International Women's Day, as we know it today, has been celebrated every year since 2010 and has a different theme every year. So this year's theme is Break the Bias. Okay? It is all about ending the prejudices that women still face on a daily basis in this world. Very interesting theme, I think. Being biased or having biases is part of being human. We all have prejudices. It's a fact of life. I would say, though, that biases or not, the marginalization of women has existed since time immemorial. So grab a pen and a notebook, as you might want to take some notes and share them and discuss them with your family members, your friends, your colleague, or whomever you would want to share them with. Now, if you have any question whatsoever, please put them in the chat and I will get back to you. And if you want to contact me, I will leave you my information a little later in the show. So, as you know, the main objective of the Merging Life and Money Show and my very strong why is to empower as many women as I can with what I know about money and finance so that they can live their best life yet. So let us start. Today, I will talk about how we can ensure equity, equality, and furthermore, how we can stop the marginalization of women in a male-structured society. I will focus on 3 points today. To attempt any changes, we must first understand the concept of equality and equity. Then we need to address the underlying issues that prevent women from having equal opportunities to succeed. And last and not least, we must find out what is stopping us from achieving true equality. So let me give the show some context. Since the beginning of time, women have been marginalized in a male-dominated society, and in some instances, in a white male-dominated society. So the marginalization of women is a term used to describe the ways in which women have been disadvantaged and excluded from participating fully in society. This has been a problem throughout history, okay? And it continues to this day in many parts of the world, okay? So one of the main reasons for this is the existence of biases and prejudices against women, which are based on the assumption that they are inferior to men. Okay, women have also traditionally been responsible for most of the unpaid work in society, such as childcare and domestic chores, while men have been more likely to participate in paid work. So as a result, they have not had the same opportunities as men to develop their skills and talents or to achieve financial independence. This is unfair, and this needs to change. Okay, now, first, what is equality? Before digging in, it is important to note that equity and equality are frequently used interchangeably when talking about human rights and social justice. Though minor, the distinctions are critical to understand. Equality is defined as the quality or state of being equal, especially in status, right, and opportunities. This definition implies that everyone is to be given the same opportunities and treated the same, regardless of their gender, regardless of their race, regardless of their ethnicity, their religion, background, or differences. Unfortunately, this is not always the case. Okay? Inequality still exists in many areas of society, culture, and business. Simply put, equality is the ability to be treated the same on an equal basis. So, what does it mean to be treated equally? It means that we should all have equal opportunities. So, in order to achieve equality, we need to make sure that everyone has equal opportunities to achieve their goals and their dreams. However, in many cases, achieving equality is not as simple as it sounds. For example, there are a certain group of people, right, that have more opportunities than others. In other cases, some people may have equal opportunities, but they are still socially disadvantaged. And you can also have people who may have equal opportunities and are socially privileged. So, what is equity? We know the importance of equality, but we also need to recognize the importance of equity. Equity is treating people equally and in accordance with their means. Okay? So no one, we know that, is born equal. Every person has a different background and culture, which makes them unique, right? People who have greater access to resources and opportunities than others are more likely to be successful in life. Okay. However, this does not mean that those with limited means should be treated unfairly. Everyone should have the same opportunity to reach their potential regardless of their background. So in order to treat people fairly and with equity, we must be able to identify who needs help, right? So in short, equity is giving everyone what they need to be successful. I will conclude the first point by saying that whilst gender equality is simply focused on providing men and women with the same equal opportunities, gender equity works to correct the historical wrongs that have left women behind. One example will be the societal norms and restrictions on employment. I would also note that a commitment to equity closes disparity in equity through legislation, regulations, and very often gender-specific initiative that not only level the playing field, but also aim to shift the culture in favor of women. So this cultural transition will need everyone from leaders to individual community members to recognize the distinction between equity and equality and to provide more assistance to women rather than simply offering them the same chances as male. And it begins with each of us identifying and dismantling the persisting hurdles that hinder many women from realizing their goals. As I see it, the direct result of equity is equality. Now, let's look at the second point. What are the underlying issues that prevent women from having equal opportunities to succeed? Well, there are many. Okay? For all I know, women's mindset is the most critical one, as it is rooted in the limiting beliefs and money script that they acquire during their childhood from their parents, their culture, their circle of influence, and society as a whole. Right? The needle is shifting very, very slowly as it relates to the societal norms applied to women around the world. Society tends to look at women as being caregivers first. Okay, this is it. So take a look at what had happened recently. Since the pandemic, right, economists actually coined a new term to describe the high volume of women being forced to leave the workforce to become caregivers. And that new term is she-cession, and it spells SHE-session, CESSION. So these women were and are probably still leaving work to care for their elderly parents and or assist their kids with distant learning, right? So what I'm saying is that we must change our mindset and our social values. Women in the US are more educated than their male counterparts, okay? As a result, believe it or not, they carry the lion's share of all outstanding student loan debt. Okay, they are the CFO, they are the chief financial officer of their household. Okay, and because they make most of the major financial decisions in the home, right? And statistics show that 51% of all households in the US are led by single mothers. So, what is holding women back from becoming the best that they can be and stop thinking that they are less than? Women, particularly women of color, must learn how to get out of their own way and claim their brilliance. Okay? Easier said than done. Okay? I know one thing though, is that society can neither empower nor disempower a woman. Empowerment is a state of mind. Okay? It is a mindset. It must come from the heart. In my opinion, societal norms are a great obstacle to women. Okay? So we must be awakened to our great potential and must be driven by the desire to make a difference in our own lives. So whilst education, position, power, status may help us along the way, we must walk the last mile on our own. Plain and simple. Another obstacle is the proverbial glass ceiling. For some, the concrete ceiling with reinforcement rod in it, okay, the concussion type. The glass ceiling is a symbolic, how to put it, a symbolic barrier that prohibits women and minorities from rising on a particular level in the workplace, owing to gender prejudice. For instance, a woman may put in the same amount of efforts as a male coworker and possess the same qualification or even more qualification, yet never advance to a senior position. So it is an issue. While the Title VII of the Civil Rights Act 1964 in the US makes it unlawful to discriminate against someone on the basis of race, color, national origins, sex, and that include pregnancy and sexual orientation, as well as gender identity and even religion. It begs the question of how effectively is it enforced? So as in, I would say very often the case, the obstacles are frequently unwritten, which means that these individuals are more likely to be hampered in their advancement by accepting standards and implicit biases than by specified business regulations. Now, it is a problem because, as a matter of fact, the United States Department of Labor went ahead and established the Glass Ceiling Commission in 1991 in response to rising concerns about impediments to advancements for women and minorities. It was tasked with identifying existing hurdles and strategies that businesses had implemented or might have used to improve diversity as the management and executive level. So the panel discovered that eligible women and minorities were being excluded from competition for an appointment to decision-making positions. Additionally, it was shown that both employees and employers frequently held prejudices about women and minority in a negative way. That's that for that. So lack of representation in leadership position is another issue that prevents women from having the opportunity to succeed. Note that statistics show that in 2021, women accounted for 56.8% of the labor force in the US, and only 29.1% held chief executive positions, and 85.7% of chief executives identified as white. And this is according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So women are just underrepresented in leadership positions, which affects, their ability to make decisions that impacts their lives. As a matter of fact, as of 2021, there were only 41 female chief executive officers leading Fortune 500 companies. And guess what? The highest ever, but only representing 8.1% of the total list. So let's look at the third point and the last point for today's show. What is stopping the world from achieving true equality? Well, I would say that there is no one answer to achieving equality, as it requires changes in mindset and action from everyone. So one way to reduce bias is to acknowledge that it exists first, and that everyone has unconscious biases, period. We need to be aware of our personal biases, and also we need to be aware of the institutional biases that exist in our society. So this can be done by looking at data, plenty of it around, and research on different groups, and by trying not to make assumptions about people based on their gender, their race, or their ethnicity. In addition, we need to change the way we talk about equality. We should be talking about equity in my mind, instead of equality, as equity means giving everyone what they need in order to have an equal opportunity. So this includes things like providing childcare and paid family leaves, which are essential for women who want to pursue a career. I was totally taken aback when I moved to America and found out that they did not even have paid maternity leave for women. So this is a very voluntary benefit that employers actually give to their employees. I mean, where I come from, let's put it this way. I had 2 kids, and I always had paid maternity leave. All right. So the big question is, what will it take to make equality and equity a reality in every culture, in every society, and in every business? I can safely say that there is a long way to go before equity and equality are a reality in every culture, society, and business. Despite some progress over the years, as I noted earlier, women are still battling biases and the gender gap in many areas. All right. So in order to achieve equity and equality, we need to address the root causes of these disparities. And this includes eliminating bias and discrimination, as well as providing equal opportunities for women. We also need to create a culture that celebrates diversity and promotes inclusion, and only then will equity and equality be a reality for everyone. Okay, so I am going to wind down some because that's a topic that excites me. I am going to summarize what I talked about today. I talked about what's behind this year International Women's Day theme, break up the bias. And I focus on the following 3 points. To attempt anything, we must first understand the concept of equality and the concept of equity. Then I addressed the underlying issues that prevent women from having equal opportunities to succeed. And lastly, I talked about what is stopping us from achieving true equality in the world. All right, so before we part ways, I have I'd like to share a few words with you. On gender equality and gender equity, for example, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization states that gender equality, meaning equality between men and women, does not mean that men and women have to become the same, but that their rights, their responsibilities, and opportunities will not depend on whether they were born male or they were born female. It also states that gender equity means fairness of treatment for men and women according to their respective needs. So this may include treatment that is different, but which is considered equivalent in terms of rights, in terms of benefits, in terms of obligation, and in terms of opportunities. And it is fair to say that equality gap varies by country and may be a result of cultural attitude that deter women and minority groups from entering the workforce. Okay, so we got to pay attention to this. Businesses in the United States have responded to the inequality gap by emphasizing diversity initiative. Okay, this involves employing employees dedicated to ensuring increased participation of women and minority in management level roles. And companies can guarantee that the most competent applicants occupy decision-making roles by concentrating on measures that decrease or remove the proverbial glass ceiling. And I will add that the marginalization of women is only one of the world's injustices amongst many. So disparities exist in education, in housing, legal rights, political representation, and income, to name just a few. So each problem demands action in order to bridge the disparity and attain equality. By the way, if you're interested to know more about this March being the Women History Month, please visit the Library of Congress online. They have so much information on this topic. Now, as you know, I like to end the show with a quote, and today I have chosen one from an individual named Farouk Abdullah, and it reads, "Women need fair representation everywhere. It is not a matter of competition, but of equality." Right. So this brings us to the end of today's Merging Life and Money episode. And let me share my contact information. I have a banner today, and I am going to show it so you could see the information there. But you could email me at mj@maryjocaesar.com, or you could send me a DM via Messenger. So I hope that you have enjoyed the show today. Okay. And for more information about how to achieve financial wellness from the inside out and live a purposeful life with the money that you have, join me next week, Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Mountain time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Atlantic time for my Bermudian peeps, and 10 a.m. Friday, Brisbane, Australia time. Thank you for being here today on the Merging Life and Money Show. I am your host, Marie-Jo Caesar. I will be back again next week. Until then, continue merging life and money. Bye for now.